Oh yeah, bloody hell. Yeah. And his singing style as well, like, you know, he had such a soulful voice.
I hear it in 19.
Yes, I would say, I would agree with that. Yeah, that whole Brace album, she loved him, and she obviously loved him as well.
That's an emotional one. That's an emotional
yeah.
one to connect to a parent, because Jeff didn't, you know, he wasn't throwing melodies and emotions around for free.
Yeah.
They definitely came at a cost for the listener, and you have to be in a space where you're drawn into his world. I met him once.
Did you really?
I interviewed him.
Oh, you interviewed him?
I interviewed him.
When?
Gosh, I was...
Where?
In Auckland,
no.
in a bar in Ponsonby, and it was one of the last tours that he did.
He was doing tours, that's what I was about to say.
He was out doing shows. Funny guy, very self-depreciating.
So how long ago is that? If that was he touring the record then, or was
I'm trying
after?
to think. I mean, I was in New York when I found out that he passed away, which would have been 1997, so it must have been 96.
Yeah, I remember when he died, my mum was really sad.
Oh my gosh, I was so sad.
My mum was sad. I remember when Freddie Mercury died as well, because my mum was really sad, and the UK was just, I mean, the world was devastated, but I didn't even know the world existed at that age.
But you see it through the eyes of your parents.
Yeah, very much. But I think my mum's very similar to me. Like, I think that she has this, she just, you know, has a sadness in her. Just in general, I think some people are just like that. But she loves music. There was always music on. There was always music, like more music playing in my house when I was little than there is now, with me being an actual artist. Yeah, she loves it. She loves music very much. But also Suzanne Vega. It was Freeze Tag. It used to be the lullaby that she'd sing to me if I couldn't sleep. Like, we go to the playground in the wintertime. Like, it was just, yeah, she reminds me of her as well.
Well, cheers.
Yes, cheers. I've got a straw because of my lippy.
It's good to see you, and welcome back.
Oh, thanks.
How's it all felt? I mean, I didn't get a chance to really sort of see you when it was all happening, and from the minute Easy On Me came out and that sort of month leading up to the album, how did it feel?
Felt... I wanted it to come out last year, obviously. And when I drunkenly announced it at my best friend's wedding on stage...
One of the best viral moments of the year, by the way.
We
wait 6 years.
my album in September to a room full of people that I fucking know.
We wait 6 years for this?
I know, but I don't know. Me announcing it to everyone that already pretty much knew anyway. Like, who the fuck did I think I was? It would have been done by then. Like, I hadn't done the orchestras yet, and I hadn't done, like, finalised all of my BVs and stuff like that. But it would have, had the world not shut down. And it was like, it's such a like integral piece to my life story over the last few years that I wanted it to come out, because when it does come out, it's the final door closing on that chapter of my life. So it feels like it's dragged it out for me a little bit.
I wanted to ask you quickly about the shows you did as well leading up to the release of the record, because we spoke over there about the intensity of standing on top of a mountain in the middle of Los Angeles, probably the highest point in a freezing cold day with helicopters overhead, singing for the first time in front of that audience.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but also I never enjoyed my first thing, because it's so nerve-wracking, like, you know.
You're on fire.
But what was incredible was so many of my friends that, you know, that I've made in LA who really, really held my hand over the last few years and have been so loyal to me, don't know me as a singer. So I moved here after my last tour. So I haven't done anything. Like, haven't worked a day in my life since I met them, sort of thing. So they were all just like, who the fuck is that? Like, you know, I remember like seeing them like, you know, and it's just a very refined version of me, you know, because no one needs to have like the full.
I love how you just went and handpicked people who'd never seen you live, never.
Yeah, but it was great. I enjoyed it once it was over.
Was there something cathartic about being able to step on stage again and just know that the last time that you attempted to play a show wasn't Wembley and it wasn't those shows and it wasn't that moment and you could just move past that again? And
Yes, yes, very much so, yeah. And it felt like a very safe size. You know, I wanted it to be small. It wasn't for COVID or anything like that. We were allowed more people. I wanted a certain crowd, like, you know, of people that I knew and stuff like that. The people that were celebrities in the crowd are people I really admire and respect, like, or know, like, you know, so it was amazing, like, and I met Lizzo years ago, like.
Oh my God, she was late.
Well, I think she was getting a drink or something, and then she was standing there looking like a sort of tropical bird in that outfit.
Just like dressed fabulously.
Perfect, yeah, but I've known her for years, and when we first met, she was making her first record, but she wasn't, she hadn't put it out or anything yet, and she was a big fan, like, you know, and I remembered her very, very clearly, and then obviously, like, she's such a good girl, I love her so much.
She's the best.
She really, really is. But yeah, so I'm glad it was a safe place. It's the same as me making my album. I worked with a lot fewer people than I normally do, and it was all with people I knew, other than Flo, who the first time I met him, I felt like I'd known him my whole life.
Well, I wondered how someone makes it into that circle, because you're right, it's Greg, it's Tobias, it's Max.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably missing a couple of people. We'll get to them because we're going to go through the songs. But,
Yeah.
you know, for Flo to come in, we all know his work. He's incredible. His work with Little Sims, you know, Salt, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, he's got an incredible ear for sound, and he makes things sound vintage but modern. So I know you would have been
And
drawn
Michael,
to his...
that's how I knew about Flo.
And Michael, of course, thank you.
And Michael
Yeah.
also opened for me on the 21 tours.
That's right.
So that was my first, you know, thing. And obviously I worked with Danger Mouse
Yeah.
on 25, and me and Brian are really good friends. But first of all, the minute I realised he was from like Tottenham, or from North London, I wouldn't stop talking to him. Like, you know, we got no work done. We were doing a session with Brian in New York, but I was frazzled. It was only a couple of months after I left my marriage. And we just got on so well, but he could feel that something was wrong. He knew that something dark was happening in me and stuff like that, but also just loved that I was just being like, well, the thing is, just opened up. You know, I was dying for someone to ask me how I was, but no one knew, so they wouldn't necessarily do it. And because he was a North Londoner and we're the same age and stuff like that, it was just very, very, very natural. And then I went back to the UK for the summer, and I texted Jonathan and I was like, I want to work with Flo, like just me and him in a room. So we went to Metropolis, and Love is a Game started. Yeah, but he was like, you know, he's also an integral part to my survival emotionally over the last few years. Like, he's been so careful with me, you know, like, it was really, really amazing. But other than that, like, keeping it with people I knew felt safe to me because I knew I could tell them things and it wouldn't leave the studio. But